5 seconds. Welcome to this week's meeting of the Rockland Board of Selectmen, coming to you live on WRPS from the H. Bernard Monahan Memorial Room at Rockland Town Hall. On the agenda this week, we have the Community Preservation Act, Community Opportunities Group update, and the Employee Handbook. Actually, I believe we're not going to have the Employee Handbook. We have a request for early Thanksgiving hours. Now, here's the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Ed Kimball.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Would you all please rise and join us for a Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Veterans Agent, Tony Materna. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The audience, participants, and general public should be aware that any and all portions of this open meeting may be recorded by audio and video resources. Also, this meeting may be rebroadcast periodically by WRPS or other outlets. Persons wanting a DVD copy of this meeting should contact WRPS or the Board of Selectmen's office, so small fee will be charged. With that, under open forum, item number 1, we have Tony Materna.
Thank you.
Before you start, Tony, I just want to make a note that Mike Johnson will not be joining us tonight. He is away on business, and Mike Mullen is traveling. He hopes to make it before the meeting is over. Thanks.
Very well. Thank you. As the Veterans Agent, I want to announce this is going to be the 63rd Annual Tri-Town Veterans Day Parade, which will be held in Whitman. It'll be Friday, November 11th, stepping off at 10 a.m. In the past, the 2 years, we've stepped off at 9 a.m. This has been a change to start at 10 a.m. because we are stopped. The parade will end at the church, the Holy Ghost Church in Whitman, and therefore they have a service at 9 o'clock, thus allowing us to use the parking lot after 10 o'clock. So the parade route will begin near the old Regal Shoe Factory on South Ave, proceed on South Ave to Route 27 towards Whitman Center. The parade turns left onto Washington Street at the four-way stop. Parade then turns right onto School Street, and then we disband by the American Legion. So if there's any question, feel free to give me a call. I'll help you out, and I'm hoping anybody who wishes to partake of the parade, please let us know beforehand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I may, one other thing on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, for their son, they appreciated the send-off they did for their son, who we had the funeral here a week ago today. And I thank the community for the participation, as well as the school system and the people that came to see him on his last trip down Union Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have item number 2, minutes of October 4th, 2016.
Vote to approve. Second.
All those in favor? It's a vote. Item number 3, minutes of October 18th, 2016.
Vote to approve. Second.
All those in favor? It's a vote. Okay, under unfinished business, we have item number 4, Community Preservation Act, Rockland question 5, which a lot of people have been calling about, asking what question 5 is. So I'm going to ask Derek Yule to come up and just go through it again so everybody understands what question 5 is on the ballot. Derek?
I'm Derek Yule, 19 Butternut Lane, Rockland. A lot of people have been asking, like you said, what CPA is and what the ballot question is. Essentially, the Community Preservation Act is a tool that was passed back in 2000 by Governor Cellucci that creates a fund for municipalities to fund some programs and areas of the town that are generally the least funded in town. Open spaces and recreation, historic preservation, and community housing. We've brought this before town meeting back in the spring, and it was unanimous. Aside from a couple dissensions, it was very well received. We've put together a campaign committee with a few of the people that you'll definitely recognize. We'll have them come up and give their little piece on this. to try to move this thing forward. We see it as a great opportunity for the town to capitalize on a program that's been in place now for 16 years. We are one of the few towns on the South Shore that's actually not enrolled in this town. They refer to it through some of the lobbyist firms for this program as the donut hole, one of which, Abington, did approve it and voted in the spring. Essentially, it is a tax increase. I mean, there's no getting around it. People call it a surcharge, what they may have, but it is a tax increase. It's a 1.5% tax increase on your property taxes. But we have exempted three things. The first $100,000 of your real property value, that is exempt. The first $100,000 of commercial and industrial property taxes is exempt. And probably the most valuable for the town of Rockland is the low and moderate income and senior citizen exemption. I know that concerned a lot of people on fixed incomes and so forth. And we kind of wrote that into this bill for those people specifically. We do not want to put people that are on a shoestring budget or a fixed income at risk of not being able to pay this. So there is an exemption option for them. The return on this is huge for the town. The average household or the average taxpayer is going to be looking at someplace around $48 a year as their increase. That's the average. Little less than $1 a week. And the return that we get as a town should be someplace in the low 300s, $330,000, $340,000 back to the town for those three programs that I had mentioned. The state then, by being enrolled in this program, will kick back a percentage. And there's been some misconceptions about what this percentage could be. People saying, oh, it's only 28% last year. It's 28% of $330,000. It's another $100,000, guys, basically. That's, you're talking about some substantial money that could be coming back into this town that, with some pretty stringent guidelines, can only be used for open space recreation, historical preservation, and community housing. The town will be tasked with assembling a committee. There are several aspects of that committee that are mandated by the state. Who has to be on it? We have to have a representative from the Finance Committee, one from the Conservation Committee. This is all laid out in their blueprint for this plan. A few open spaces are there for residents that would like to be involved in this process. That committee then is tasked with weeding through projects that are people apply for through the committee, bringing up a good list of these programs, and then they go to town meeting. Town meeting has the final say of how we spend this CPA money. This isn't something that's done in a back room. It's very transparent. Actually, the Department of Revenue has oversight of this, and anything that doesn't meet that standard is kicked out. You probably saw, or anybody that reads the local papers saw some op-ed pieces that were done on CPA from this town. I had the privilege of writing the pro. Another citizen of town, very involved citizen, wrote the con. And it's good information. I won't try to kid anybody that there was a lot of false information that has been out there, and it's been listed through papers and social media sites. We can't increase this. Without town approval, 1.5% is 1.5%. We cannot increase this. The selectmen can't dream up a plan to increase this. It's 1.5%. That's what we voted on. That's what's on the ballot. Another thing is the use of these funds. There isn't somebody sitting in a back room trying to come up with a plan to use this to pay for a roads project or, paying overtime or a budget shortfall in some other area. These funds are specific to the plan. Those three areas that I've mentioned are the only available recipients for these funds. And they are a couple of the lowest funded in the town. Open spaces, parks and recreations, and historical preservation, which you see both of those lacking. The other end of it with community housing, this is a great plan for that. You see a lot of towns around that are using this to refurbish dilapidated buildings for senior housing, or purchasing land, or even using it as matching funds for grants to improve community housing in the town. Overall, I think it's a great plan. I think that if you look into it, the Community Preservation Coalition has a great website, gives you a lot of information. But that's, this is my opinion. There are a lot of people out there, and what we value the most is an educated voter. Somebody who knows about it, that's read about it, that's bypassed misinformation and people steering them in the wrong direction. That's just myself speaking about this. We do have tonight, we have Jim Paul and Peter Ewell, who are also on the campaign committee with us. I'm sure they have their own opinion on this. If it's okay with the board and the administrator, I'd like to have one of them. Are we not allowed to bring up a second from a committee? Okay, so public employees are banned from giving their opinion. All right, well, tomorrow night, kind of shocking. I'm a little surprised at that. Tomorrow night at
Because it's an election, Derek. It's an election.
I do understand that. I definitely get it.
I can say, to the point of everyone has their own choice, but I can tell you that the town of Rockland, since the inception of this program, has donated, and so we will stick to just some factual matters. Included in your book, the town of Rockland has donated close to $1 million to this fund as a result of the surcharge, which funds the Community Preservation Act. And that $1 million, of course, because we do not have CPA here in Rockland, has not been reimbursed in any way, shape, or form to the town. Many of the years since the inception of the fund were funded at 100%. That has slowly declined as a result of more and more communities participating in it, and it does vary, and sometimes the legislature as well kicks in an additional amount above and beyond the surcharge. So you don't know what the trust fund distribution percentage will be as a comparison to what the actual donation of the town. But we have donated the town of Rockland through this surcharge $1 million to the fund at this point, and we have not recouped a dime of it to date.
I think it's important to point out that fact, like Alan said. We're already paying into it. The Registry of Deeds. Every real estate transaction that takes place in this town has a fee that goes directly to the Registry of Deeds. That money, in turn, is put directly into the state trust fund for the Community Preservation Act. We're not involved in it. We get nothing back. It's all outgoing and nothing incoming. Tomorrow night, 29 Park Street, Rockland Eagles Hall, we will have an open forum. Questions, criticisms, all is welcome. Both sides of the argument, would love to hear it, and we can answer anybody's concerns about this prior to the election. We do apologize, myself, I apologize that with early voting, there were a lot of people that didn't have this information in their hands. I do ask for forgiveness on that end, but we are a committee of 5 people trying to get a lot done with not a lot of resources. Unfortunately, we might have missed some potential voters for this, but I urge you all to really dig into it, do your own research. Check this out. The informed voter is the most powerful tool in government. And of all plans, I don't want to sound like a cynic, but in politics, there's not a lot that usually goes right. But this program, if you look around, 160 plus communities in this state have adopted this program since its inception. 0 have opted out. None of them have voted themselves out. They voted for a reduction in the tax because they run out of projects to fund, but they have not voted themselves out of this program. That speaks volumes on what it can do for our community. There's an opportunity here to make a big impact for not a very big investment. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Any questions from the audience?
All right, thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say, I got a mail in today, I
Me
believe,
too.
on it. There was a postcard from Public Trust, Lands for Public Trust, I think, was sending out an information postcard or what it was. So, just like many of the other postcards I've received on potential candidates, questions, you know, so. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have item number 5, surplus vehicle request.
The fire department, Mr. Chairman, is asking you to declare a used 1988 truck that they have, fire truck they have, as surplus so that we can sell.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? So vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, under new business, item 6, we have Communities Opportunity Group. Wayne Dara regards some sign-on approvals for 5 establishments on Union Street.
Mr. Chairman, I had, as you know, left pictures. I did not include them in the book, but the pictures, I know you were looking through them earlier tonight, are all on the back. But there were 6 properties. 5 properties?
5.
5 properties.
Wayne Dara, Community Opportunities Group, the town's community development consultant. Per usual, whenever we're getting ready to invest in a project under the Commercial Property Improvement Program, we like to come to the board, especially for the awnings, which need your approval to be installed above the public right-of-way. I think we might have a sign in here also, and doing that just for continuity. And I don't know if you want to take these one at a time, if you have any questions about any of the specific projects.
I'm okay with taking them as a group.
Yeah,
Any
taking them
other
as a group.
questions?
No,
I mean, I read through them all, they're all
All legit.
establishments. So,
Can we just read them into the record?
yeah,
349 Union Street, Anita Marie's Coffee Shop. 344 Union Street, Teresa's Hearsay. 331 Union Street, LCT Computers. 308 Union Street, B&N Dollar Discount. And 333 Union Street, Hair Designs by Michael.
and the motion will be to approve the awning/sign design as submitted by the Rockland Office of Community Development for the following addresses that Alan just read into the record. Any discussion?
Nope.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
Who first it? We needed, who made the motion?
You made it. I second.
All those in favor?
That's going to screw up the minutes.
The vote?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne, doing a
Thank you,
great
Wayne.
job out there.
Item number 7, Players Bar and Grill, request for early Thanksgiving Day hours.
This is a repeat from last year. As you know, some people sometimes like to go out for an early Thanksgiving breakfast, and Players Bar and Grill has got a request in to ask if they can open from 8 to 11, including, I believe, alcohol.
Mr. Chairman, normally we get a number of these requests per year, and we always approve them for all the places that send us letters. So I would like to make a motion that we approve Players Bar and Grill's request for an early Thanksgiving, but also if any other establishment that wants to sends us a letter, that as long as they go by the police, they'll be approved.
Okay, as long as they have police.
Police approval.
Approval.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a
Second.
problem with that. All those in favor? It's a vote. This thing is on vibrate too. Okay. Next up on the agenda, we have Maplewood Estates.
Mr. Chairman, there's a petition regarding the layout of Sawmill Lane and Cornmill Way, which is known in the community as Maplewood Estates. They are required, or were required, to notify us by November 1st of their request to have their road accepted. I would just want to acknowledge at this point to the developers that we have received it. I've already done that on the phone. We gave them a received and stamped letter. There are still a couple of concerns as I talk with some of the department heads. We have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, so I would ask not that you forward this to the planning board yet. Let us meet with the department heads, make sure the punch list is firmly established before they go to the planning board, but we have to acknowledge the fact that we have received it. If everything is done, then it will be forwarded to the planning board for approval and go before town meeting. But our charter says that they have to file by November 1st before town meeting. So it's an acknowledgement, we've received it. I would ask the board to take no action at this moment.
Okay. All right, so no action. Okay, item number 9.
Item number 9, Mr. Chairman, and I will get this opportunity again next week, but included in your book and emailed to you earlier this week was a copy of an employee handbook for the town of Rockland, which has been updated and thoroughly vetted by Stacy Callahan in Human Resources. We have been working on this for a very long time, and Stacy has really taken on it. It's one of the projects that I asked her to get done so that every employee in town knows exactly what the policies and procedures are here in Rockland, and get that book updated. She has done that. However, I would like to ask that we save that presentation until next week when Mr. Mullen and Mr. Johnson are here as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That makes sense. Let them weigh in on it as well. Okay, so
Do we have to make a motion to table it or
Yeah, make a motion, we,
postpone it?
yeah. Go ahead.
okay, all those in favor? We had a motion
Make
and
a
a
motion to
second.
postpone it?
Yeah, and I second it.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor?
So
vote.
illegal. Want to be legal all the time.
Well, it makes sense to have the other 2 selectmen here.
It's
Yeah,
very,
I
very
think
well
it's a
put
big
together, by the
item,
way.
and I think you all had the opportunity to look at it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's definitely, good standard copy, if you will, Seen enough of them my day.
We'd like to be able to have it approved by the board and distributed after Stacy gets here, obviously approved, but distributed to all employees who are thinking maybe with their W-2 forms, but certainly through each department.
Do we have an understanding now with most of the unions that we have a human resources department and that certain functions will be normally funneled through that office now
I'll
versus
Yeah.
the old ways?
Department heads have been very cooperative. I think we're lucky. I do have some people in surrounding towns that have had the same struggle Rockland has had over the years, where they don't have one person who's dedicated to that role and responsibility. But we have streamlined our hiring process and many of our benefits programs, all going through the Human Resources Office. And Stacy's done a great job. As we've talked about before, you can sometimes take over from somebody else and you get to say, well, that's the way we always did it. Or you get a blank canvas and you get to paint your own picture.
You go.
And Stacy's had to do that, but at the same time, she hasn't had somebody else's foundation to build upon. So it's been a work in progress, and I have to say, she's done a great job. And I think one of the things was last year when she was recognized for the healthcare group that we just recently voted ourselves out of. However, as a wellness coordinator of the year, she was doing more for employees here by comparison, I guess, than what other people were doing in their communities. So we're continually impressed by her work. Mr. Chairman, if I might roll into Town Administrator's report.
Yep, and correspondence.
I'm on a roll. I want to warn everyone, we have had a request, and because of the new laws on public documents that have been coming out, we have had a request to release executive session minutes, which quite honestly was on the radar, but maybe not on today's radar. But we did get a request to release executive session minutes last week from 2010 forward. As a result of that, I've spent a lot of time working with town council and reviewing all of our executive minutes, actually back to 2008 when I started. And we are in the process of putting them up on our website. I don't think they say a lot. Some of them are redacted, but people will be able to go to our website, and the law states that, Mr. Ryan, you're very good about making the motion, not to be released until all matters are settled. And in many cases, as I read through these, the matters have been settled and dormant for years and years, and yes, they can be released. So we will be putting those all up on the new website within the week, going back to 2008. Some items, of course, are still redacted because they have not been settled, but those that we can get up there, we're getting up there as quickly as possible.
Okay.
School parking, I want to do a shout out and a thanks to School Committee Chairman Dan Biggins and Superintendent Alan Cron. There's been an issue around Town Hall with parking for a very long time. My understanding is they have reached a resolution and that they are going to be renting some parking spaces from the church next door here to Town Hall, moving some of their personnel into that and creating something which will be a much safer drop-off zone for the young kids going to the daycare program here behind Town Hall. There won't be any more double parking. There'll be some changes to be made, and some people will have to walk just a little further to get into the school, but in the interest of safety and the kids, I think it's a wise decision, and I want to thank Dan Biggins and Alan Cron for addressing that issue. We recently had a breakfast at the Senior Center. I want to thank Peg and the staff down at the Senior Center. It was a downtown revitalization meeting. We've got a lot of great ideas. We're going forward with our grant request. But I wanted to point out that Peg did a great job, and the Senior Center is already becoming a very valuable meeting area for the town. Still a request for volunteers. Anyone who's interested, needs something to do, we have numerous committees, including capital planning, that need volunteers. If anyone would step up, we can certainly find the opportunity to use you. If not on capital planning or finance committee, there are other committees as well. Feel free to contact our office and come in and let us know that you'd like to volunteer in town. The Adopt a Hydrant program, just a reminder, as Chief Duffy said last week, we're looking for donations for the markers, but also make sure you know where the hydrant is in your area as we near the winter. My congratulations to obviously the town of Rockland, but especially Donna Shotall, who extended voting hours here in Rockland. We received a gold medal and a great editorial in the newspaper. We received the gold medal for our election modernization for the town of Rockland for the expanded hours. I don't know if you had the opportunity to be downstairs earlier tonight, but people have been voting in this room all week. And downstairs, when I went down, there were 14 or 15 people standing in line. So anyone who wants to vote this week, we are open 8:30 to 4:30 every day. And for the next 2 more nights, and they're open till 9 tonight. If anyone wants to get in their car and drive down now, or if they want to come in between 6 and 9 on Wednesday and Thursday and do their early voting. But Donna Shotall and the staff in the town clerk's office were recognized for really longer and more hours in most communities. She's done a lot to try and get the vote out. Mr. Chairman, I know you'll be thrilled, but the second annual Pizza Palooza is on November 9th at the Rogers Middle School Gymnasium. I checked, and yes, I would love to have you be a judge again, Ed, if you would be so willing. Can I let them know you'll be there?
Sure.
I know you enjoyed it last year. The fourth floor artists having an open studios are having a weekend event on November 19th and 20th from noon to 5 p.m. in 2 buildings, the E.T. Wright Building on Liberty Street and the Sandpaper Factory, as it is known here in Rockland, 83 East Water Street. They'll be open again on Saturday and Sunday, the 19th and 20th in November. I had the opportunity, and I appreciate their volunteering to display some of their art at our downtown revitalization meeting at the senior center. I actually bought something from them, and my wife was happy, so I must have made a good choice. But if you can get in and see some of the work, they do excellent work, from ceramics through paintings and drawings, and I can't name all of the artisty things they do, but good opportunity to go in and see what work they're doing. The Rockland Friends want to remind everyone that the holiday stroll will be held on Saturday, November 26th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, from 4 to 7. They are using Town Hall. I have asked Pam Murphy if she could make an appearance at our next meeting. And a reminder again that Town Hall is open on the first and third Tuesdays of the month until 8 p.m. if anyone needs to get any Town Hall business done outside of normal working hours. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next up, we have selectmen comments. Comments and opinions expressed by the individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of all the Board of Selectmen, and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. With that, Mr. Welch.
No comments, just want to remind everyone to get out and vote. I think we've done a pretty good job this year so far, reminding people to get out and vote, voting early. And that's about it. Adopt a fire hydrant. Don't forget about that, which reminds me I have to actually go adopt my own fire hydrant. So it's on my list of things to do. But that's it.
Mr. Ryan. Thank you, Mr. Welch. Mr. Ryan.
Well, a lot of things went on. The downtown revitalization of breakfast was extremely interesting. There was a number of, I don't want to say important people, but people that are very involved in it and concerned throughout the state, and a few of the towns discussing what they've done to revitalize their towns like Duxbury, Framingham, and a few other spots. I think that the town of Rockland can come up with a decent plan that will should bring more people to our area to buy and go to dinners and whatever we can do in Rockland. So I just want to let people know that we're going to be working on that big time, and that we're going to have meetings start Thursday night. We're having a meeting at 7:30, I believe, here for the R2 committee, so to speak. If you're interested in revitalizing downtown Rockland, come on down to that. I want to say back up, Alan, with the fourth floor artists, people that are up there in their little buildings, and they're doing all these wonderful things and making beautiful products. First time I knew they were there, quite frankly. Now that we know they're there, and I saw some of their products, go up and visit them. A lot of good things up there. There's another little community within Rockland that exists here and are doing a great job for the benefit of Rockland. The CPA, Community Preservation Act, is a good tool for the town of Rockland to use for monies that we can't normally allocate for the things that Derek mentioned in his little spiel there. Quite frankly, I wanted to go on that years ago when it first came out, but you know, people say tax, and you know, and it scares them away. But quite frankly, I wish we had done it then. We'd be so much better off at this particular point in our lives. It's probably never too late to join something that's going to help the town of Rockland. So I hope you would consider voting for it, because quite frankly, it's a very valuable tool that the town can use to accomplish a lot. What else do I want to talk about here? Yeah, Sean's funeral. It's so nice to see the town come out and support our fallen heroes, if you will, in such a magnificent fashion. It's just too damn bad it has to happen at all. Life goes on, but congratulations to the town of Rockland for being concerned for its citizens and those people that have done the job for us in the armed forces. Let's see what else I wanted to say. Probably can't remember everything tonight. I'm getting too old, but Halloween went pretty smoothly. The town's doing really well. Volunteers, Alan talked about volunteers. You know, all you got to do is take that first step forward. Come out and meet your neighbors, concerned citizens. There's very few people in this organization from top to bottom, from the highway schools, that wouldn't want to fully accept you to come down and help them do what we have to do in these different committees and boards. We don't always agree on everything, but we can agree to disagree, and we smile at each other when we all go home at the end of the day. So it's not something that's really controversial. It's just something that we need people in the town to come forward and learn about your town and learn how you can make it a better place to live. Over the years, we've done a lot toward that end, and there's still a lot of work to go. So come on out and enjoy the party. That's enough. There you go. You're in. You're already in.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. I don't have too much tonight. I think you covered just about everything. So I just want to remind people to go out and vote. Election day, if you don't do early voting, is Tuesday, November 8th. And it's a presidential election, so not only do we have, yeah, well, it's supposed to be. Put it that way.
Has it been on TV yet?
Not yet. But again, and we have some local candidates races as well. We have a state rep race, we have a state senate race, we have a county commissioner race. So regardless of who you vote for, go out and exercise your vote. As Mr. Reiner said, there's been people who have passed and gone through and fought for this country, so we still have the right to vote. So please exercise your right to vote. And if you can take advantage of the early voting, if you don't think you can be there, please do so. It's the only way you can stand up and be counted. For a lot of people who are calling them, asking what question number 5 was, it's for the Community Preservation Act. Derek Yule and some of his committee members are handling the question as far as trying to get out support for it. I just want to remind people that at town meeting it was passed, and the second part of this, in order for Rockland to enact it, would be at the polls, which is now. So again, do a little Googling, find out what it's about if you don't know what it's about. Just don't take our word for it. Look it up, see what it does to other communities. It's something that can help Rockland out. Again, you're gonna have to pay a little bit, but you know, all the good things in life cost more. So I guess that's what we have to do. If we want good things, we got to pay a little more. But as Derek had mentioned earlier, this is a fund that can only be earmarked for certain things, and it's by committee and by vote at town meeting. There was a neighbor in town that tried to do something, just to remind people, do a project with the funds, and those funds weren't allowed to be utilized for that, even though the town tried to go ahead and do that. Won't name the town, but again, there are watchdogs out there to make sure it doesn't happen. It's no different whether it's here in another community. So think about it as something that could help Rockland, whether it's for historical use, preservation, of recreation, whether it's for housing. There's a lot of different uses that it could be used for. And again, it's all by committee, how it's voted and allocated. It allows the town to do things that they otherwise may not be able to do a fund. So it's just another tool for the town to utilize to make things better in town. Larry mentioned volunteers. We desperately need volunteers. I mean, the audience tonight, I don't know, we might be able to do virtual audience. What do you think, Dave? You know? A lot of people are busy, we understand that, but we need volunteers to help government run. And as Larry said, once you get involved, I mean, it's a nice thing to learn about the town, make a lot of new friends, and you're making the town, you know, that much better by being involved and being part of it. So we'll extend the invitation to anybody, you know, because we need volunteers. That's all I have for tonight. I hope everyone had a good Halloween. Don't eat too much of the Halloween candy. And the next time we meet, we'll know who our next president's going to be. So
There you go.
enjoy your evening. And do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and myself. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody.
Nice job,
for
everyone.
watching.